at like 55%. I'm like, what the heck is gonna happen that's gonna surprise me? Is Mel actually reading her TBR for once? Maybe. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'll be back. Hello, book reading friends. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Mel, and today is the day where Mel actually reads her TBR. If you guys watched my reading goals video for 2022, then you know that my goal for the year is to read from my shelves, which is gonna be super hard and will require a lot of self-control that I don't know if I possess yet. And the thing is, I am always super torn on what to read. However, I've seen these videos floating around and I think it'll make my job incredibly easier if I just let Goodreads choose what I read. And so the concept of today's video is super simple. I have every single book that I own that I haven't read logged on Goodreads on my want to read shelf. And I will then sort everything out by highest rated and lowest rated. These are the average Goodreads ratings. And based on those two, I will pick one and I will give them a read, and I will say if I agree with the super high rating or with the super low rating. Don't we love a good self-interrupting queen? But I do need to give a thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which is HelloFresh. If you guys are in any way similar to me, I know that I personally struggle to choose at-home meals instead of takeouts as my primary source of food intake, which is honestly quite horrible, but HelloFresh is here to help. It's definitely one of my New Year's resolutions to cook at home more often, but honestly, time is very tight and I'm constantly doing a million things. Something like HelloFresh, it's so much easier to stay on track with your goals and also to have simple recipes to go to on a daily basis with fresh pre-portioned ingredients, which is my favorite part because meal prepping takes a lot less time. I also really struggle to choose what exactly to eat. I find myself going to the same meals over and over again and getting very easily bored. And I do have to say that HelloFresh has been a massive help with that because every single week you have a wide variety of recipes to choose from to get you out of that rut of not knowing what to cook for yourself. And one of the best parts of HelloFresh to me personally is the fact that they offer quick and easy recipes, literally 20 minutes and you're done, you're serving your food, you're eating, and it also allows for a much easier cleanup and less prep time. And if that's not enough to convince you, the packaging that HelloFresh uses is already recycled content that you can recycle, so you're pretty much using the 3 R's perfectly fine. And what I also love about this is that it gets myself and my brother, which is the person that I cook with most often, very excited to find out what recipes are incoming this week. So if you do want to sign up to HelloFresh, you can go to their website, hellofresh.com, and use my code MELREAD16 to get up to 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't say you didn't see it. Thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. And let's get on to reading my lowest and highest rated books from my Goodreads. Let's go. Welcome to the Mel Reads office area where all the magic happens. I'm about to explain to you guys how this is all going to work because it's really interesting and it's kind of a plot twist. So typically when I've seen these types of videos, what people do is that they grab the highest rated book and then the lowest rated book and they just straight up read them. However, to give you guys a semblance of mystery and also myself, because that means that I don't know what's going to happen when I actually see what the top rated book is that I'm going to grab the top 10 books most rated and the top 10 lowest rated on Goodreads, and I'm going to randomize a number from 1 to 10 for each, and that is going to give me 2 books that I'm going to be reading. The only thing I am completely taking out of the picture is if it's a second book in a series, in which case I will completely eliminate that and move on to the next book on the list, and now we can start screen recording. I have 3 tabs currently open on my desktop. I have a Goodreads, I have a Google Sheet where I will be writing down all of my highest and lowest, and then I have a random number generator that will help us acquire which books a girl is gonna be reading today. How do I do this? Sort. Okay, found it. Date added. Where do I go? Average rating. I'm so scared. Oh my god, wait. Okay, so we have Jade Legacy first, which honestly, Miss Fonda, get your coin, get your rating. I obviously cannot read this yet. Also see Jade War down here. I am not gonna count either of these. So we've got the Mindfuck series by St. Abby, which also stabby. So let me just input the Mindfuck series. I've got Draco, El Diario de un Demonio, which is a book by a Panamanian author. We've got The Name of the Wind. We've got The Hate You Give. I'm not surprised by that one being this high. We've also got Call Us What We Carry. We've got Becoming by Michelle Obama. It would be really interesting if a nonfiction one here. We've got In the Dream House. Okay. I'm not gonna count Death Note either because it'd be a pretty boring video, I guess, if I read volume 2 of a manga series. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I'm just gonna write down 7 Husbands because it's quite a mouthful. That would be a turn of events if that one. I don't know how I feel about that one. And the Anthropocene Reviewed. Oh my god! Oh my God. 2.98? I don't think I've ever seen a book with this low of a rating. And now it's time to number generate something. I'm so scared. I'm gonna close my eyes. Okay, here we go. Click. Number 8. What was number 8? 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Okay, I can vibe with this. I can vibe with this. Okay, so we've got 7 husbands. I don't want to look. Number 5. Oh, okay. Wait. I can vibe with this. Okay, survive the night. All right, friends, there we have it. I'm very scared now. I'm very scared. But 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo as our highest rated read is gonna happen. Survive the Night is being read. I'm sure you guys will be very happy about both of these. Are they actually that lowly and highly rated? What will I think? Let's get into it. This is literally the weirdest angle that you'll ever see me use. Hello. Literally have you propped on a few boxes with a tiny table ring light on there just to kind of have some sort of lighting to give you an update on Survive the Night by Mr. Sager, which I have been reading, and I am a little bit over 50% now, and this book is so bad. I was not expecting this book to fulfill that lowest rating spot. Like I didn't know how earned it was going to be. This is mostly an homage to cinema, and I hate and love that at the same time, because you can tell that Sager is a person who probably very much admires and loves cinema. But what I hate about that is that he has literally made the main character's entire personality to be a cinephile. And while there's nothing wrong with that, he took it as far as being like, I'm so shy and like I am not like other girls, but like if you talk to me about movies, that's when my tongue lets loose. And I hate that. Like he literally gave her no more personality beyond liking films. And it's also so weird, and it doesn't fit the dialogue. They could be talking about anything and suddenly she's like, Gaslight, Marlon Brando, Audrey Hepburn, 1960. And then she starts spewing all of these facts about the film, which I've literally only seen done in films. I literally have not seen or met a single person like that. And that is saying a lot, because my whole friend group are artists. I know friends who are filmographers, photographers, theater directors, actors, literally any creative you can imagine. I probably know one, and I've never seen anybody behave like this. It is so odd that that is the only thing the main character personality-wise is going for her, and I hate every second of it. Also, talk about a more obvious plot. There is literally nothing in here that could surprise me at this point. There doesn't seem to be like a plot twist incoming, which is very confusing. It's just all very straightforward, and we kind of already know where this is going. Even the synopsis itself kind of gives everything away. At like 55%, I'm like, what the heck is gonna happen that's gonna surprise me? Unless it turns out that Miss Charlie is actually the killer, and even then, that wouldn't be surprising because that was literally my first guess. I'm like, if it's not this Josh person that she's in the car with, then it literally has to be her, because she has these lapses every once in a while, and I hate this. I hate the way that Riley Sager wrote it, and I'm just here sitting wondering if anything interesting is gonna happen. In typical Sager fashion, the book is easy to read. I will say that. The book just flies by, but it's also because it's just very repetitive. I think I'm going to try and finish this before I go to bed. Will that happen? I don't know. Y'all. So it seems that we did indeed survive the night. I had to do that. I had to. I apologize. It was bad, but I had to. I survived the night. I finished this book. And Goodreads is right. This book is just not it. Now, I will go on Goodreads now because I need to see the average rating for this book, because my first thought is this book is either a 1-star or a 2-star, which is not good. This was 3.52. And again, everything about this book was predictable. And even if you don't guess it right from the start, you reach a certain point where you're like, aha, this is what's gonna happen. And then it does happen. The development is literally non-existent. I hate the lack of personality for everybody involved. It just seems like Riley Sager just gave up writing this. It was like, I have a book deal. I have to turn something in. in. Let me just turn this in and get it published because it'll probably get published anyway. Everybody just lacked flavor and personality and a reason to be. I still just, even the reveal was underwhelming. I guess the reveal, I mean, there's a point where you just know. But when I was like, okay, so this is gonna be the person, this is gonna be what's happening, you kind of expect a deeper explanation as to the why there wasn't. Was it really substantial? Absolutely not. And even freaking Charlie as a main character, beyond the having no personality, this girl just trying to be brave for the sake of being brave. I have no attachment to her whatsoever, or to her friend Maddie, which is essentially her murder is the catalyst for the story. But it's like we don't really get to see them at all together. We just kind of get thrust into this world, into this narrative of, oh, Charlie feels so bad because she's grieving her friend, and that's fine. We get nothing in terms of backstory and development to actually make us care about her grief, and about what she's going through. Literally, this whole book just sums up into, this is the cheesiest, most underwhelming, underdeveloped thriller you could find. And thriller is also a very loose of a term. I don't even know what I'd qualify this as. I've seen the story 10 times before, and it's not original. And so when this story has been done so many times, what are you really adding to this trope? What are you really adding to this narrative? And the answer to Mr. Sager is nothing. Now we can move on to the next book, which might also be a disaster, and I'm hoping it won't be. So now we're gonna go and read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I will definitely start this tomorrow. I'm not planning on starting this today. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hello, good day. How are we doing today? I have updates on Miss Evelyn. I literally almost yeeted the book behind me, but I have updates on Miss Evelyn, and she's good. She is really good. I was super scared to read this for a number of reasons. I think primarily when it comes to super hyped up books, depending on what is being said, depending on the genre, depending on the hype and the words surrounding the hype on both ends, both for people who have loved it and for people who've hated it, I never know if I'm gonna read it or not. If it had not been for this video, I probably would have taken longer to read this, I'll admit, even though this is on my 22 books to read in 2022. So it worked out perfectly because I managed to knock out one book from that list. I love the writing style. I love how real it seems. And I don't think I've ever read a book quite like this, where the center of attention is this Hollywood sweetheart, this really powerful woman who has made a career out for herself, who is so ambitious, who is so unapologetically herself, but who has also suffered in silence because of the industry that she is in. And it's not only incredibly fascinating to read about that, but Evelyn as a character is just so compelling. You can tell that she has lived a long and plentiful life, but also a very sad and heartbreaking one, again in the sidelines, without people really knowing what has been going on with her and what has been done to her. And her entire life story is essentially told through her 7 marriages and events and things surrounding those marriages, both before, in between, and after. And it is so interesting because I think in the society that we live in, it's always really shunned when women have more than one marriage, more than one relationship, when there's not really big breaks in between, and everybody will have their different views on relationships, but I do tend to see that a lot. It's always really interesting to see those dynamics play out, and I think that's exactly what I'm getting with Evelyn. I was also really hesitant about this book, I think primarily because the author is white, and I have heard that there is a lot of POC rep in this book. Evelyn herself is Cuban, and then Monique, which is the reporter, which was the other thing I wasn't expecting. I had no idea what this book was about beyond Evelyn and her husband. And so the fact that I walked into this and what this book is about is Evelyn contacting a journalist by the name of Monique and basically not necessarily begging, but offering her the opportunity to write Evelyn's autobiography. Monique herself is also biracial. She is half white, half black, and her boss is also black, and Evelyn's assistant is Asian. And so there is just so much POC rep in this one that I was almost on the fence with a white author writing all of that for I think, very obvious reasons. I think there is something to say, though it's not far-fetched at all, about Evelyn entering the Hollywood industry, the film industry, and having to change a lot about her identity in order to get more job opportunities, which I don't love as a trope, but we can't just neglect the fact that that is how the industry works sometimes. And people dye their hair, and people get literal surgeries, and people change their bodies and their appearances and their speech patterns just to further fit in society in this industry, which is incredibly sad. And I hate that it's been an issue that's been perpetuated, but I like the fact, and not at the same time, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it right now, but I do like the fact that that's being highlighted in this book. And it's honestly an addicting read. When I tell you guys, today's Tuesday, I'm supposed to be working, I'm supposed to be editing, literally sat down to edit, and I instantly closed down my computer because I was like, I can't do this today. I literally just need to sit down and I need to keep reading Evelyn. If not, I will positively go crazy because I need to know what's going to happen. It's also not that long of a book, so I know that if I wanted to finish this today, I really could. And I think what I love most than anything is something that Evelyn said, which is so true, and I think it applies to everybody out there who's trying to make something out of themselves. A lot of the time we are expecting and we are hoping for opportunities to get to us, and we just kind of sit there and we're like, oh, when is my manifestation gonna come true? When am I gonna get out of this job? Or when am I gonna get that opportunity? And the reality is that we really do need to take life by the balls and say, if you're not giving it to me, I am taking it. Obviously, in the best way possible. There are times where you can't just sit and wait for stuff to happen. You have to be an active participant in your life. And I love that Evelyn is such a huge advocate of that in this book. I think it works so nicely, not only with the strong message that the book is trying to convey, but also her as a character. When I tell y'all, I'm literally reading about her, and at times I go, you're not really a good person, Evelyn. But that doesn't also make her a bad person. She's just a very driven individual, and she knows what she wants, and she is not afraid to get it. And I love that about her. So I'm gonna keep on reading and neglect all of my responsibilities, even though I shouldn't, but I will. And I shall keep you guys updated on this one. Yeah! You guys, I am literally crying. I just got to the infamous quote from Evelyn Hugo. Don't ignore half of me so you can fit me into a box, Monique. Don't do that. I knew where it was going. Just seeing everything unfold is like so heartbreaking. And I just need Evelyn to be happy. That question will haunt me forever. Who was the love of your life? And I cannot bear this pain. I need to keep on reading, but just had to get this monumental reaction. Wouldn't you love to know that I finished? What does one say to that? Like, how can I sit here and pretend to give you guys a coherent review? I cannot possibly do that right now. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'll be back. You guys, hi! I dyed my hair. She's going through a whole ass change period. Hi, how are we doing? I am here to wrap up this vlog and to talk about my experience doing this. Because honestly, it was quite fun. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And I have finished The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've dyed my hair since then, and it was a whole experience. Now, this book is one of those books that I'm constantly just going back and forth with. I've talked to friends about about this book, both friends that have read and have not read this book, and it's been a very interesting experience to see people's takes on this subject, right? So I think where I stand in with this book is the fact that, yes, it's a very beautiful narrative. It is a very deep and heartwarming and very frustrating also exploration into sexuality and racial identity. However, what I find that Taylor Jenkins Reid fails at in this particular book is really encapsulating the POC experience that is not necessarily her fault because she's not a POC. But I think also if there was as much research going into this book and if she did talk to as many people as she did talk to, I think certain situations could have been portrayed with a lot more realism than they were in this book. However, when I think about that subject as well, I think about pros and cons and how that could have helped or hindered this book as an experience when read by a POC. And the main thing is that I don't think that a lot of the experiences that POCs deal with are necessarily something that somebody who's not a POC and that doesn't get to experience those things is the right person to address those subjects and those issues. And so when it comes to that particular thing, I go, yes, I would have seen more, but is it really fair to ask of that from a white author who, again, doesn't get to experience that level of intricacies on a daily basis when it comes to racism and racial perspective? And I think my main gripe with that particular subject in this book is how Evelyn is written in this book. I think the author, and that might have been intentional or not, ends up doing to Evelyn the same thing that producers and directors and studios did to Evelyn in the book, where she completely erases Evelyn's identity throughout the entirety of the story, and that's just conveniently brought up when Evelyn is butthurt about the fact that nobody knows that she's Cuban. But I think why I was so frustrated with this book is that while yes, everybody around her seems to erase her identity and she just embraces that she has to do that in order to get into Hollywood, there is nothing in internal monologue and in internal conflict and in daily life beside her being an actress and being a star that reinforces the fact that she is a POC. And the thing with this book is that it constantly reinforces, oh my god, she has tan skin and she has super blonde brassy hair that looks unnatural in her skin tone because she is of darker tone. However, because it's Evelyn, it looks good. And that's the only thing that we have to go off of to know that she is not indeed white. I also would think, given the time period that this book takes place in, that there would be more resistance on the Hollywood end to have a POC star in as many movies. I think historically we've seen this before, where Black women were not able to even be nominated for an award, and if they were nominated, they couldn't go into award ceremonies, and how they wouldn't get the jobs that they wanted, and they would be indeed portrayed as maids, and they would be ridiculized due to the racism of the time. And when I look at this book, although it is completely fictional, I do wish I would have seen more of that, because I do believe that is a more accurate depiction of what an actress like Evelyn would have gone through in the 50s. Also, the ending of this book is something that really rubbed me the wrong way. It was incredibly heartbreaking, yes, and there is no denying that. At the same time, I think the way that Taylor Jenkins Reid tries to cop Evelyn out of certain situations is, oh my god, yes, this happened, but I support LGBT rights, or but I actually supported Martin Luther King when he talked about his dream. I don't like that. It just, again, rubbed me the wrong way, and I think this book had so many incredible parts and so many good conversations, but then a lot of that gets lost in the middle of other conversations, or they're not accurately depicted in this book, or the people who end up suffering the most are POCs at the hand of POCs who do not want to acknowledge the fact that they are POCs. There's also something to be said, and I think at the end, the journey that Celia and Evelyn went through is really beautiful. I do think there's something to be said about the toxicity of their relationship that is not addressed in the book, but I was just like, come on, Evelyn. You can't just deny the fact that, yes, you've been guilty over a lot of things, but at the same time, Celia is not acknowledging the fact that she's also guilty of doing toxic shit in your relationship. She wants to come out of all of those because she's blaming you and you're the scapegoat. And I wish there would have been more of a establishment of that conversation in the book instead of it just being kind of like overlooked or put under the rug, which I don't know if that was the intention of the book, and if it was, well, I guess props to you, Taylor Jenkins Reid. If not, then I just caught that and I can't look past it, because Celia definitely had, again, a lot of toxic traits, much like Evelyn did. Evelyn is not a saint, we know this, but I think Celia truly pinned so much on Evelyn without realizing what she was contributing to this particular toxicity conversation. So again, I just had a lot of gripes with certain characters and certain certain events that happened in this book. However, beyond that, I think the book was incredibly interesting in seeing Evelyn's life with each of her husbands and how everything took place. And again, seeing how relationships at their core are also different. The motivation of getting together is different. The motivation to staying together is different. The motivation to eventually leave is all different. And I really liked seeing that perspective, you know, from Evelyn as somebody who has gone through so many husbands for every single reason that she did, which I think there's also a lot to be said about the reasons why she chose each and every single individual and what eventually led to the downfall of each individual. It's not a book that's very easy to talk to in depth without really going into spoilers, because it's a very intricate novel. It's a book that, again, has a lot of interesting, complex conversations. The book in itself is complex. I generally think this would make a great book club pick because there is so much to kind of break apart as we read this book. But it was a really beautiful story altogether. At the end, I ended up rating it 3 stars because I think I fall in the middle where, yes, there were a lot of things that I liked, but there were also a lot of things that I disliked. I can't overlook one for the other. And yes, you guys, that is it for today. I think it was a really interesting experiment to carry through, not only because I read both of the books very quickly, but also because I think it's a really nice way to actually read from my shelves, because I feel like I constantly find myself looking at this and going, I don't know what to read. So I think every once in a while, making one of these videos where I actually do read from my shelves or challenge myself to grab something in any sort of capacity, in whatever iteration I decide to carry this through, I think it'll be really fun. So let me know down below what you guys personally thought of this format. If you want to see more of these lowest, highest from Goodreads, or in general, maybe like Goodreads automates or randomizes a TBR for me to read in a single video, let me know what you think. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a massive thumbs up down below, and comment down below if you've read either of these books, what did you think? Or if you read any of the books that were on the top 10 list of each, again, highest or lowest, maybe there's one of those that you guys would like me to read next and create a follow-up video to this that were in that particular list. And if you've reached the end of the video, let's leave some veggie emojis down below in honor of the sponsor of today's video. It's the one thing that came to mind, so let's leave some veggie emojis down below. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already. I am constantly uploading videos that I'm sure you don't want to miss, and if you want to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon. We call ourselves the Citadel, and it is always the best of times over there. That is always linked down below alongside all of my social medias in case you do want to join us. Again, thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget that if you do want to get HelloFresh and sign up, you can head on over to HelloFresh.com and use the code MELREAD16 to get up to 16 free meals and 3 surprises. So thank you so much to them for sponsoring today's video. I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye, guys.